Welcome to DU Digimon.
Hello and welcome to DU Digimon, and welcome to another Bait or Busted, the show in which we look at a certain deck or a certain card in the Digimon TCG, look at its strategic applications and values, and ultimately decide if it's complete bait or 100% busted. In today's episode, we're looking at a specific card, that card being Leopardmon Ace from BT22. Originally, I was just going to do a deck profile with one of the lists we'll be discussing today, but later settled on doing a bait or busted because, frankly, some people have worked out some wacky shit with this card. Strap in, because this guy doesn't appear to be all that much, but it's secretly the glue of a new, insurmountable and pseudo-infinite loop. And where else would we find an infinite loop combo than in Galaxy? But first, let's look at the card itself. BT22 Leopardmon Ace is a 7 play cost, 12,000 DP green level 6 Digimon. It could Digivolve on top of any green Digimon for a cost of 4, or a CS trait Digimon for a cost of 3. It has the Holy Warrior, Royal Knight and CS traits, giving it a decent spread of different synergies. It has a when Digivolving effect that allows it to play out any 5,000 DP or less Digimon without paying the cost, and then grants blocker to all of your Digimon until the end of the opponent's turn. It also has an all turns once per turn effect, and thank goodness it is a once per turn effect, that gives you 2 memory when another of your Digimon would leave the field. It's very similar to the previous BT13 Leopardmon, save for being an ace and having that all turns effect. It's super generic across the board, but not entirely broken at first glance. And it certainly isn't broken on its own. Its real strength comes in the engines it can be smushed into. With that in mind, let's look at what it does in Galaxy. Now, I must add, I am not the person who came up with this combo. My brain is far too smooth, and I'm not really sure who did. But in any case, I pinched a list off of Digimon.io instead of building one from scratch. Thank you, Zerhart, for your contribution of this deck to the public domain. Now, this loop did take me a bit of a while to get in my head. Again, I'm pretty smooth-brained. But once you've got it, it's not too hard to pull it off, with the only real drawback of the combo being that it can take you a bit of time to grab your pieces. Essentially, it works like this. You want to make sure you have at least one copy of the Sayo and Co tamer, you know, the blue one, as well as Leopardmon Ace, ST13 Ludamon and EX5 Coronamon in hand. You must also ensure you have a level 5 to evolve into, which needs to be your BT22 Cressamon, which can digivolve on top of any of your Nightclaw and Lightfang Digimon, or the BT22 Kirinmon. The latter can only digivolve off of other CS traded Digimon, is worth it to allow yourself to go up into Leopardmon, who is also CS traded, for cheaper. You could maybe also experiment with stuff like the BT22 Rise Grey, but I don't think it's necessary. Anyways, let's take a look at the combo in action against an Omnimon player. In this instance, I've actually hard played the Coronamon on the previous turn. Fortunately, the Omnimon player was in a bit of a bad way and hadn't found their relevant pieces. We then go into the Kirinmon on top of the CS trait Lekismon. This lets us trash a security and digivolve into Leopardmon for a reduced cost of 2. We then play out the Ludomon and give everything blocker. Ludomon then places itself underneath one of your red Digimon, specifically the Coronamon. Because it leaves the field whilst doing this action, Leopardmon recognises the fact it is leaving and gives you 2 memory, which allows us to gain a fair bit of advantage as we continue our turn. Galaxy then does Galaxy things, and we eventually end up with a second Leopardmon on board. Something that is not wholly necessary for the combo, but definitely not unwanted. Now as we go into the opponent's turn, this is where the Sayo and Co tamer comes in. Sayo and Co play out the Ludomon from underneath Coronamon as they have the same level. Ludamon does its on play again, triggering the 2 Leopardmon and passing the turn back to us before the opponent can even go into their draw phase. Grim. Leopardmon also, as an added bonus, has synergy with the EX5 Lunamon. Lunamon can bounce one of your Digimon to gain 2 memory. Coupled with the 2 Leopardmon on board, that's a gain of 6 memory. The Omnimon player, understandably, scooped after they realised they were caught in the loop. It is absolutely disgusting. I actually, as a point of principle, don't enjoy loops like this, as I think they are massively unhealthy for the game. I saw players leave Yu-Gi-Oh! Because of shit like this. I don't want to see the same thing happen to Digimon. Hopefully, given we have a ban list this coming Saturday, we will see this addressed in some way, whether that be through a pair ban or a full-on limitation hit to the Galaxy engine. Not long till we see what happens. Given the potency of this combo, it then got me thinking about what other engines you could use Leopardmon in. Though I must state, none of these are really as monstrous as what you could do with Galaxy. Not by a long shot. You could go to the classic green toolbox route, granted, you lose the archetypal consistency of a true engine, but you are more free to pick and choose what you want. I went with this build to make use of a few different synergies. Giving blocker to the BT5 Palmon, which, when deleted, places a Palmon under one of your Digimon, could assist with gaining the effects of your BT22 Togemon and Okuamon. But you could definitely go with different options in the deck. EX8 Metatronomon could give you some form of protection, for example. This list can go really wide when it gets going. You get a lot of blockers thanks to the Leopardmon Ace, and a lot of board control thanks to both Leopard X and Medieval Gallantmon. The next engine I tried out was the CS engine, and this is the one I was going to do a full profile on initially. Which is funny, just last week Team Deathslugger put out a profile of a CS Leomon build. Perhaps CS actually stands for Cat Stands, and not Cyber Sleuth? Go check out his profile as it was pretty cool. As for a CS Leopardmon build, I went with the following list. It definitely feels more cohesive than the green toolbox list, with a few more ways of being able to efficiently digivolve up. You do lose a bit of synergy with the Leopardmon X though, as you have less green Digimon to play out with its effect and to digivolve on top of, but still a very fun list. The last one I properly experimented with was Adventure. This was the one that excited me the most out of the three, and is very much inspired by the Adventure Vortex decks we've seen popping up recently. You can definitely go more green than I did, but the fact that Leopardmon Ace can play out either Togemon or Birdramon for the on-play Digivolve is really nice. You also get completely generic, no-strings-attached alliance inheritables. I did try the idea of having alliance in CS with the BT22 Bloomeramon, but ultimately settled on Risegrey being the better aggro pick, as Bloomeramon only gives alliance to flame-traded or CS-traded Digimon, meaning both Leopardmon X and Medieval lose out on having it in the CS list. Going back to the Adventure list, you get even more board control in this list. Returning one Digimon to the hand with Okuamon is great and all, but potentially returning multiple Digimon to the bottom of the deck with Lilymon is way more effective. Mega Capiteramon also helps you by restanding your blockers after you've done your alliance shenanigans. Leopardmon Ace can also play out both the Tentomon and Gomamon, giving you access to 2 different floodgates for certain matchups. And Leopardmon could technically do this with any floodgate rookie in the game, which is kind of funny. There are other decks you could potentially use Leopardmon in too that I've not showcased in this video. Decks like Royal Knights, or maybe even the Dark Masters deck, or a classic Megazoo type build. Who knows? But is this card bait or busted? Well, given that it makes up a piece of an infinite loop and can generically play out anything with 5000 DP or less, it has a lot of room to grow from here and be involved with many more shenanigans. So I think, because of that, it is busted. At least in the right engine. On its own, it's not exactly breaking boards, but it definitely helps with building up and bolstering your own boards. And with that, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, like the video and subscribe. I'm really hoping we can start making our climb up to 2k, and every person subscribed helps us out a ton. Also, let me know if you'd like to see any of these lists as full profiles, and there's a link in the description to take you to the Galaxy list I used in this video. And before we close, special thanks goes out to Malachite749. Your membership as part of the DU Destined really helps us as a channel, and it's thanks to people like you that we can keep doing this content on the regular. Thank you for your support. Anyways, until next time, keep it digital.